Airpulse A100 is the smallest speaker from Airpulse. As I mentioned earlier in my other review, Airpulse's designer is Phil Jones. Phil Jones is a speaker designer of legendary bookshelf speakers such as Acoustic Energy's A1 and Boston Acoustics Linfield 300L. A couple of months ago, I reviewed Airpulse's A200. It was versatile. On top of that, A200 successfully demonstrated solid performance that could compete against even many non-active speakers of same price range. A200 was highly rhythmic, responsive, and has high resolution on the low frequency. On the other hand, little bit of density and mellowness was lacking in the sound, particularly in the mid-range. Nonetheless, there was not much to complain considering its performance for the price. A100 is fairly similar formation as A200. It's an active two-way speaker with aluminum woofer and horn-loaded ribbon tweeter. There is a downsizing on both units for A100 though, otherwise both A200 and A100 look pretty identical. The critical visual difference between two models, other than the size, is their finish. As you can see, A100 has piano finish. Some love them because they look luxurious, while others hate them since they are prone to fingerprint marks and fine scratches. One thing I can say about this finish is it looks much dearer than its price tag. A100's similarity with A200 continues at the back panel, such as North Pole bass, treble and volume, both optical and analog inputs, 5-pin connector for master slave speaker connection, all included as they are included in A200. There is some difference though. A100 supports 2 RCA, whereas A200 supports 1 RCA and 1 XLR. There is no coaxial input on A100, but A100 has internal USB DAC and subwoofer connection, which A200 does not. A200 has 3-pin IEC C14 socket, but A100 here supports IEC C8 instead. Some may not like this bit here because upgrading power cable may not be so simple. There isn't much to talk about back panel of the slave speaker unit here, just like A200, because there is no function other than 5-pin DIN connection. It is regretful to see all Airpulse speakers are master-slave formation. I hope they put power supply on both channels next time. As A200, a tag that indicates transparent cables are used for the internal wiring is welcoming news. Transparent cable is one of the oldest audio cable makers making high-end cables. I tried Bluetooth connection at first for its simplicity. Connection was a simple process via fully functioning remote control. Remote control feels little tacky but works well. I just wish they are chunkier than like Kantar's remote. Bluetooth sound from A100's proper 2-channel is expectedly excellent. A100's Bluetooth sonic performance is probably one of the best for the price and far better than most one-box Bluetooth speaker with higher price tag. Then I connected A100 with the DAC preamp, which I currently use via RCA connection. As expected, A100 demonstrated a class above performance against the Bluetooth counterpart. Surprisingly, A100 was quite musical. Perhaps its counterexample can be Head Type 07, which I reviewed recently. Head response was more flat than A100, but it also took more effort to appreciate its presentation. The level of density and mellowness of A100 surpassed that of A200. Meanwhile, A200 certainly goes a bit lower and has more grunt than A100, and I'm sure many prefer such presentation also. Obviously, A100 does not go low as A200, but it's just a nitpicking. I mean, such a limitation of frequencies is on par with most bookshelf speakers. Moreover, unlike A200, subwoofer can be added on A100 if the bass is what you're really after. Adding a good subwoofer with proper setting, like adjusting low pass filter and phase, surely will optimize A100's potential even further. This doesn't mean A100 must use subwoofer though. It just means there is a room for potential upgrade. A100 shares A200's versatility and expanded even further with the inclusion of USB DAC. And I did not have high expectation of an internal DAC of octave speaker under $1,000. I mean, I thought the internal DAC was just a freebie. Surprisingly, this freebie, well, at least I thought it was, sounded pretty good. There were shortcomings of internal DAC, of course, in areas like lot of obsolete information, high frequency resolution, and overall harmonics when comparing it with my Lindemann music book. But such comparison was unfair because music book alone costs a few $1,000s. I say you can stick with this internal DAC for a while if you don't have one, unless if you are after DACs costing over a few $1,000s. This means you can build your system with A100 alone. A100 effectively includes a DAC, an amp, and a pair of speakers for less than $1,000. I find A100 is reasonably priced and simple, yet sonically less compromised than many other alternatives in the market. A100 can be an excellent choice for beginners, subsystem hunters, or people who want a simple solution without too much compromise. My next reviews will be on Genelec A341 studio monitor from Finland. It is a serious player, and Haydn Grand Symphony from Austria. Thanks for watching. See you soon.